Yeah, I mean, he's one of those young influencers, right?
Both podcast and political circles have been rocked by a leaked exchange. According to reports, Erika Kirk, the wife of conservative Charlie Kirk, lost it when Joe Rogan made public her purported connections to a high-ranking TA official. We dissect what was stated, why it matters, and the extent of this dispute in this video. The phone call that made all the difference. The course of events was chaotic during the crisis, but it was executed precisely. The aide to her husband called Erika Kirk. When word leaked out that Charlie Kirk had been wounded, Mikey McCoy yelled, "He's been shot." Erika says she was in Arizona at her mother's deathbed when she received the news and quickly flew to Utah. She was informed that Kirk had already passed away in midair. Authorities then verified that the shooting had place during an American comeback to a public event. Erika recounted that even though a sheriff had advised her not to see her husband's body, "With all due respect, I want to see what they did to my husband," she urged, citing the severity of the bullet wound. However, a separate narrative overlay has been created by digital scrutiny. A frame-by-frame video analysis, published by independent investigators, raises doubts about Mikey McCoy's involvement at the scene. Within seconds of the gunshots, McCoy can be seen using his phone and leaving the scene, appearing unharmed and unbloodied, acting in a way that is not appropriate for a first responder at a
This is a crazy story that Sam Parker has unveiled, and it has to do with Charlie Kirk's right-hand man at TPUSA. Here's what he says. As everyone else rushed to Charlie's aid and carried him to an SUV and to jet him to a hospital
at a violent crime scene. Era 151, Mikey's father, Pastor Rob McCoy, claimed in public that his son was covered in blood while helping Kirk. However, the contrast between that assertion and the serene imagery in the video has led to a flurry of conjecture regarding disparities in witness reports and official declarations. According to legal experts, these discrepancies are significant for their deeper structural ramifications, as well as their dramatic potential. An investigation's basic timeline may be in doubt if important players in the early aftermath respond in an unexpected manner. This is a striking contrast. The assistant's desperate call, Erika's rushed flight, and the footage of the head of staff striding away coolly. The most uncomfortable of inquiries may be raised by these conflicting messages. What were we blind to at the time? The phone conversation turned into more than just a catalyst. It turned to become the story's pivot. This fissure clarity is broken between the initial shock and the upcoming investigative chapters by quiet, and a public narrative that might have outpaced the available data. The quiet following the shot. At State Farm Stadium, Charlie Kirk's memorial service took place in a state of orderly slumber. Erika Kirk took the stage with visible but restrained emotion as tens of thousands of people gathered to pay tribute to the conservative activist who had been killed. Media coverage and surveillance footage.
I forgive him.
Showed her speaking to the throng in a way that would instantly garner national attention. "I pardon the young fellow, because it was what Christ did and what Charlie would do. I forgive him." Her public statement, made so soon after her husband's passing, stood in stark contrast to the dominant narratives of political violence and retaliation, according to authorities and onlookers. Erika Kirk's statement offered a counterweight to the other speakers' framing of the killing as a targeted assassination, mercy instead of vengeance, introspection instead of accusation. Later on in the service, the contrast was emphasized. Kirk was referred to as a martyr by former President Donald Trump, who frequently called the incident an assassination and placed it within larger worries about political violence. According to analysts, the conflicting messages, one advocating for political accountability and justice, while the other framed forgiveness in overtly religious terms, created a complex narrative that made it difficult for the general people to understand what happened. The picture was described by media analysts as a meticulously orchestrated fusion of messaging and grieving. A high-profile act of forgiveness like this could affect how the public views Tyler Robinson, the suspect, and the ensuing court proceedings, according to legal and socio-political commentators. there were still questions. Does the widow's pardon influence society? Justice-related expectations? Would it unintentionally influence prosecutorial choices or the larger movement Kirk helped create? According to reports at the time of the memorial, there were still unanswered questions regarding the shooting's underlying facts, the suspect's behavior, the specific circumstances, and unresolved investigative gaps. There was a suspended ambiguity, where grief, legacy, and legal ramifications met in the shadows of applause and camera lights, rather than the silence of acceptance. It is characterized by observers as a time that is pregnant with implication, a narrative hiatus preceding the subsequent phase of investigation and analysis. The question of the lone shooter. According to reports, the official version of Charlie Kirk's murder came together quickly. Authorities named 22-year-old Tyler Robinson as the only suspect within 48 hours of the shooting. The move from an ongoing investigation to legal action was marked by his charges of aggravated murder and the use of a forbidden weapon. However, researchers and observers pointed out that the rapidity of these unease was created by advancements. What at first glance seemed like clarity.
All right, you guys, happy Monday, and get ready because we are going on a journey. I left you guys on the ultimate cliffhanger last week. I did not intend to, by the way. I genuinely wanted to get the information out as soon as possible that Tyler Robinson is not suicidal. And I'm going to tell you how I know that.
OT turned out to be more like procedural containment. The official story was openly questioned by Candace Owens on episode 242 of her YouTube show. She referenced anonymous federal sources who said that the FBI was putting undue pressure on Utah police to complete a lone gunman story. Owens highlighted the hastened timeframe, presenting it as a struggle to accept the simplicity of one suspect, one motive, and one weapon, rather than as a conspiracy. It's contended that the lone shooter conclusion was challenged by a number of discrepancies she identified. She emphasized that there was no publicly available video of Robinson using the gun, ballistic fragments purportedly incompatible with the gun investigators retrieved, and an eyewitness account portraying the shooter wearing tactical gear rather than the civilian clothing Robinson was wearing. She also mentioned the video film of a second person on a nearby rooftop wearing all black, which she said detectives had overlooked. She contended that every disparity signified a break in the case's coherence. Regarding these allegations, authorities have refrained from making public statements. Robinson remains the only suspect in Utah County records, and no formal statement has identified any other suspects or secondary figures. According to legal analysts, surveillance gaps, contradictory eyewitness reports, and quick case closing are similar to warning indicators that have been identified in other highly publicized or politicized investigations. The result is a lingering uneasiness rather than a different decision. A named shooter, a headline, and an apparent resolution are all provided by the term of lone gunman. However, the unanswered issues persist, undermining public trust and creating conflict between...
Oh, there was that one guy who was the decoy. All right, so you got this guy who's an older guy who starts yelling out. Didn't he take his pants down? He took his pants down. This guy was at 9/11. He was at the Boston bombings.
All the hits.
He called in a fake bomb at another place. And then he did this at this thing.
Between the need to look into the matter and the need to reassure, the story keeps developing in that deliberate quiet, its ultimate details unknown. Rogan's uprising. Soon after Charlie Kirk was shot, the focus of public conversation changed from grief to procedural issues. On Joe Rogan, host of his podcast, The Joe Rogan Experience, questioned the incident's practicalities and called the official storyline horseshit. He questioned how a non-military suspect, aged 22, could purportedly scale a rooftop, fire a long-range shot, and then blend in with the crowd without being noticed. Rogan and Andrew Santino talked about a previous decoy suspect who confessed at the scene and was later charged with unrelated charges during an episode that included Santino as a guest. They contended that there was no clear justification for Tyler Robinson's quick designation as the only offender. Rogan stressed that the weapon purportedly discovered, a rifle from World War II that had been disassembled for transportation, was improbable in light of the suspect's background and the view of the victim's seat that is visible. Many of these issues have not been thoroughly addressed by authorities in public. There are recognized gaps in the public record, and investigations are still ongoing. According to legal analysts, the lack of clarity becomes a part of the narrative itself when prominent voices cast doubt on the official story's consistency. This instance is more than just a case study. It represents a decline in process trust. In its most basic form, the label of lone gunman provided closure, a named suspect, charges, and a trial process. However, Rogan's uprising highlights the
Just a few miles from here, 2 years ago at America Fest 2023, Charlie delivered a speech on stage for our TPUSA faith event. Charlie loves speaking off the cuff. He was very good at that.
It's the potential that this closure may be merely a surface-level one. Structured quiet, uncut corners, unasked questions, and presumptive narratives are all possible. As the inquiry progresses, the appearance of an explanation is just as important as the actual facts. Marriage is a fantasy. Erika Kirk maintained an almost perfect public persona throughout Charlie Kirk's memorial service. Her show of mourning was characterized by observers as composed, measured, and purposeful. Some saw it as a premeditated performance, while others saw it as the epitome of faith. Every deliberate movement and controlled tear was caught on camera, portraying a widow who seemed to skillfully strike a careful balance between public expectations and bereavement. Interview. Tower 29 Forward 48. Although such poise appears admirable on the surface, legal professionals point out that it can draw attention. Powerful gestures are frequently filtered through ideological prisms in divisive public discourse. Erika's behavior is seen by supporters as supporting the story of Christian forgiveness and resiliency. Critics, however, doubt the performance's sincerity. Could such perfect presentation of anguish hide other realities? Was the widow's composure the result of her inner strength or her deliberate control over her perspective during a time of intense media? Public personalities and pundits reportedly contributed more levels of conjecture. There have been allegations that Erika knew beforehand what had happened to her husband. Even if there is no concrete proof to support these assertions, the fact that they are being circulated shows how quickly suspicion-based narratives can be attached to prominent and powerful people. A public display of strength becomes both a shield and a target in this phenomenon, which analysts characterize as the interaction of image, narrative control, and political polarization. Although the memorial has been hailed by authorities as calm, the underlying tensions were clearly visible. Candace Owens openly questioned Erika's behavior, suggesting foreknowledge, but other pundits denounced these claims as speculative and baseless. The contrast between support and mistrust, accusation and defense, highlights how erratic public opinion can be during well-publicized disasters. The result is a nuanced picture of mourning that is being examined. Erika's poise is neither completely innocent nor completely dubious. It terraces in the conflict between one's own tragedy and the public's perception. Such incidents, according to legal and media observers, highlight larger dynamics, the clash between personal suffering and public discourse, and the vulnerability of trust when perception deviates from verifiable truth. The distinction between performance and sincerity is left open in the meticulous planning of grief, leaving the public to consider just one issue. To what extent does the visible world mirror reality? And the extent of the Trump link and the illusion of control. The public profile of Erika Kirk started long before she was associated with Turning Point USA. According to records, she competed in the Miss Arizona USA pageant in 2012, which was then associated with Donald Trump's group. According to legal commentators, pageantry, especially when it is associated with well-known political and media personalities, frequently acts as a platform and a means of establishing connections, introducing contestants to opportunities that go beyond look and performance. Music. After competing in pageants, Erika Kirk worked as a casting director in New York Director, which positioned her in a professional network with ties to the media and public power. The abilities needed for casting, perception, presentation, and narrative framing, according to observers, closely matched the requirements of image management and political messaging. According to reports, she was positioned at the nexus of organizational authority and personal influence due to her marriage to Charlie Kirk, co-founder of Turning Point USA. This confluence, according to analysts, has the potential to increase her political influence and visibility. These days, Erika publicly supports Donald Trump, the new CEO of Turning Point USA, attending events with him. Officials characterize her rise as representative of a larger pattern, the incorporation of young, media-savvy individuals into the conservative political apparatus. Her prominence, charisma, and command of the narrative project an image of political dependability and ideological loyalty, qualities that experts say are especially important in movements aiming to inspire a younger audience. Legal experts also point out that Erika's rise might change conservative perceptions, possibly replacing other personalities who previously positioned as the movement's young spokesperson. Her notoriety serves as an example of how media literacy, political opportunity, and personal biography interact. How previous media and pageantry exposure can influence one's strategic placement within ideological networks. The ramifications are complex. Erika is a familiar, aesthetically pleasing, and leadership-aligned figure who on one level symbolizes continuity within the conservative youth ecology. Additionally, her ascent highlights the strategic importance of narrative curation, which combines public opinion, professional experience, and personal history to strengthen impact. Analysts predict that while she holds this position, the lines separating her personal story from her political rhetoric will continue to be extensively examined, leaving issues of power, convenience, and authenticity unanswered in the larger context of modern conservative politics. TPUSA versus Candace. Following Charlie Kirk's passing, Candace Owens has been more critical of Turning Point USA. Analysts explain her remarks were seen as questioning the organization's internal dynamics, in addition to the official accounts of the shooting. Owens has openly accused the federal government of being involved in the probe and implied that outside forces might have had an impact on Kirk's last days. Legal scholars point out that even though these charges are unsubstantiated, they have an impact on ideological networks, making supporters skeptical and casting doubt on institutional transparency. We will keep an eye on Turning Point USA's response to the message's dissemination. As a spoiler, they were real, of course. Additionally, a donor from Turning Point USA wrote a public letter about me, and I think you will be as moved by it as I was. I would like to share that. Owens's remarks have generated conflicting responses within the conservative community. According to observers, people from a wide range of backgrounds, including media stars and financial influencers, have struggled with the ramifications of her claims. Some see her arguments as an essential challenge to official narratives, pointing out discrepancies in the methods used for investigation and the larger political landscape. However, others view her comments as disruptive, contending that conjecture regarding outside or governmental influences could jeopardize the stability of the movement Kirk established. According to reports, Owens's allegations have caused internal strife within Turning Point USA. An atmosphere of anxiety is described by anonymous workers, who also mention that there have been whispered discussions among them regarding potential political meddling and federal scrutiny. Legal experts stress that companies that there is frequently a conflict between internal discourse and public messaging in highly politicized settings. While staff struggle with unanswered questions, leadership may choose to remain silent in order to protect the institution's reputation. This is a typical characteristic of politically sensitive organizations, according to authorities. Immediate transparency may not always be more important than cautious perception management. The wider ramifications go beyond the company. According to analysts, Owens's ongoing claims, which include both federal actions and the idea that TPUSA was a unified and independent movement, was called into question by possible outside influence. They highlight the contrast between public perception and internal reality, pointing out that even in highly regulated political networks, rumors can deepen tensions. Supporters, detractors, and onlookers are reportedly in a state of suspended judgment due to the ongoing conflict between the need for accountability and the preservation of institutions. The questions remain in this terrain. To what extent did internal factors influence TPUSA's course, plan, and to what extent are other factors involved? Even while silence continues to be the organization's preferred tool of control, faith fractures, and power, legal scholars predict that the interaction of ideology, loyalty, and controversy will continue to shape its public narrative. Although the public portrays the event as a terrible shooting, a closer look exposes a web of devotion, influence, and disputed authority. Previously largely in the background, Erika Kirk now holds a position of increased visibility and takes on leadership responsibilities that align with the changing identity of Turning Point USA. Her emergence is described by observers as representative of a larger rebalancing of power in conservative youth politics, where loyalty and appearance are just as important as philosophy. How lovely music that, what amazing grace. At the same time, pundits like Candace Owens and Joe Rogan keep questioning the circumstances of Charlie Kirk's passing. According to analysts, their investigations, which ranged from possible institutional pressure to logistical irregularities, have muddled the story and revealed weaknesses in the movement and its investigating conversation. Rogan's criticism of the official narrative and Owens's claims of government control indicate a recurring objection to the finality provided by a single suspect, underscoring the ways in which unanswered issues feed continuing conjecture. The lack of information surrounding important individuals, namely Michael "Mikey" McCoy, has been characterized by authorities as a gap that exacerbates public uncertainty. Such omissions in the official record, according to legal specialists, foster rumors and lead to conflict between accountability and perceived loyalty. The notion that under Kirk's leadership, the group that previously exuded unity is now struggling with differences in perception and trust. According to reports, the effects go beyond certain actors. The conservative network is vulnerable to ideological rifts because of the confluence of faith, political optics, and organizational power. These dynamics are characterized by analysts as a type of structural tension. Contradictions and ambiguities surface more and more as the case is studied, undermining assurance even as attention grows. Within this setting, what seems to be instead a resolved tragedy serves as a mirror for disputed narratives, power battles, and individual agendas. Legal experts point out that a fundamental inconsistency is highlighted by the ongoing inquiry. Authority may be granted by visibility, but as the inquiry continues in both the public and private domains, vulnerability is increased. There is still one obvious reality. Like the shooting itself, the story of faith and loyalty is far from resolved, and each new revelation throws longer shadows. We are left wondering as the circumstances around Charlie Kirk's passing develop. Will the truth be sought, or will it remain silent? Before it's too late, choose how history will remember these incidents. Leave a comment below with your opinions. Thank you for viewing. See you at the following one.